Lucy.
Yeah, we are on.
All right, let's hit it then. We are moving through it. We are doing it. Welcome. This is Mainline Executive Coaching ACT. I am with my partner here. I am Michael. I'll get it together in a second. I'm Michael Bailey. My partner is Rich Barron here, and we've got a great one to talk about tonight. We're talking about leadership or power trips. And
Yeah.
we've got an article here from Danita Johnson Hughes. She's an author, and she's written a book called to one about turnaround and power from within. She's got some
Mhm.
real intelligent points that she'd like to make, and we want to go through these 7 C's for keeping power in perspective. So let's start with this, Rich. What do you have to say about what Danita has authored here in this article?
I'll tell you what. If you get a chance to read this, it's a very good article on the 7 C's for keeping power in perspective, and it defines what a power trip is, how people get tripped up if you by owning power, and sometimes it's to no fault of their own, essentially. One of the things that we can talk about here or point out is that not everyone is a born leader, but yet we are all leaders in the sense that we influence others around us. But in order to become a true leader, it takes building those skills and those talents and being vulnerable and humble and all of the above in order to learn these things about yourself. But too often, being a leader and owning power can trip you up because in a lot of cases people don't know what to do with this power, or they strive for that title and that power, and then that's their goal is to obtain that power, and it really changes the atmosphere around you, changes the course of your organization, changes the course of your the people you work with.
Absolutely. Remember, folks, the CEO, the president, whoever's the head of the company, you are the culture. Just get that. You're the culture. And if whatever's going through your business, your organization, even your department, even your team, if you don't like what you're seeing there, it goes right back to you. You want to blame them? No, it goes right back to you. What is it you're doing to create and support that environment, that whole culture that's going on here? So, developing the right leadership strategy for the people that you lead is crucial to getting the results that you want. That, my friend, is a difficult one to get your head around. And it's
Absolutely.
difficult because that means that you've really got to understand the people that you work with. They're not all the same. They're not all little, gingerbreads coming from this cookie cutter. They're all different. They're all unique. They've all got their ways of working. And your ability to read them and work with them is going to be key to that, because otherwise you're going to find yourself falling into some leadership traps or power trips. We could call it that: leadership traps, power trips. So let's start here. Character. What about character? This is our first C. Character as a leader. Why is that important?
Well, character comes from your inner core, your beliefs. Where does that truly come from? And its ability that to manage these demands on you through your title or through your the processes that you have to manage, and you need to do that with integrity, honesty, selflessness. These things become crucial in times where it becomes difficult, and that's where character really starts to shine. Do you have the integrity to really continue being a leader, or are you going to break down to some of these stresses that you're going to come under at certain times? Is that going to change your character? Is that going to trip you up, and where you're going to start wanting to direct, through this power trip that you may, maybe one of your stressors, maybe something that you're going to fall back on. So character is something that you need to really take a look at and develop constantly.
Yeah, it's this interesting thing that's very difficult, and that is being willing to sacrifice your own success, making yourself look good for the sake of the team, for the sake of the project, for the sake of even somebody on your team. Being willing to put all your ego aside and say, let's do the right thing. Let's do it the right way. Let's do it in the right time. Let's do those kinds of things. That can be very, very difficult if you're coming from a place of lack of character. Now, there's the key thing. If you lack character, you're going to default to the fear. And the result of that is you're going to play to save your own hide rather than doing what's the best thing to do. That's what gets you into trouble there. And this leads us right into the next one: courage. What about courage, Rich? How is that
You know,
important?
we've had some really good guests on this show, this podcast. Now, we had David Bernal, that was really a phenomenal guest that really talked about resilience and courage in the face of things you need to work on.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Danita points out in her book or in this article is that Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." And as leaders, we're all going to face these times, regardless of what it is in your life. But in the workplace, it's a given. It's 100%. You're going to face times where you're going to need to stand up and show some courage. Be
Absolutely.
resilient.
Yeah, your convictions will be challenged.
Yep.
And decisions. That sense of inner conviction about what's the vision, where are we going to go, where are we going to get there, the strategic plan and implementing it with your team, getting your team to work with you. That sense of conviction and then standing behind it with courage is no small thing. The heat comes on, it's easy to wilt and walk away, but that's not what we do here. That's what we're learning not to do, but instead do something else. So it goes back to this next one here, commitment. What is your, and commitment's an interesting thing here, Rich. What is your ability to make commitments and then keep with the commitment, and then as necessary, adjust the commitment based upon new information rather than pressure? You follow what I'm saying here?
Right.
We may need to adjust this and this, but the commitment to get this thing done and to make this thing happen is really important. And most especially the commitment to your team, to your people. That's another thing. So commitment is something that is both it's an intellectual process, but it's also a very deeply rooted emotional process.
Well, this is really comes down to something that you have taught seminars on. And matter of fact, one of the very first times that I was on a seminar with you that you were teaching, it was about having grit.
Yeah.
Going to the end, being committed to what you're doing. And so honestly, this is something, that unwavering perseverance that you have to get through. Here's the problem is a lot of times temporary setbacks or temporary problems really throw people off. And it's going to throw you off your game, because if you're in your comfort zone and you're not ready for it, it's going to throw you off your game. But if you're committed to having plans ahead of time, if you're committed to being perseverant, if you're committed to that grit that you talk about, that's part of commitment to fulfilling your roles as a leader.
And your commitments to your team and your commitments to your clients and your commitment to the organization. I mean, that's again, that goes right back into character, goes right back into courage.
Yeah.
All these things seem to really, when you take a look at them, really seem to feed off of each other. They really work together. They're not singular traits. They're traits that really have their own kind of synergy. Let's go to the next one here. Cautious attentiveness. There's some interesting points that she makes in here. What about cautious attentiveness? I suppose that's more of that as opposed to like outrageous optimism or something. I'm not quite sure.
Well, it's a lot of what she outlines is thinking through potential consequences of your decisions. Often prevents problems from occurring down the road. Be accurately informed. Get all the data around you that you can, and then be attentive to what your everything that's going on around you, if you will. Be attentive to the changes. Be attentive to the organization. Be attentive to those people's, how people are acting or reacting, and that's very important. Then base your decisions and make sure that your decisions, you understand the consequences and own that decision, because it can either come back on you later on, or it's going to be something that's going to be beneficial for both you and the organization. But if you're not attentive to what's going on around you and you just pull the string on something that you pull the trigger because you think that's what needs to be done and you don't have all the data, well, that's where it's going to haunt you.
There's a leader that's on the political world stage right now that really characterizes or epitomizes, is the better word, this lack of courage, this lack of standing forth. He's getting some pushback in his country about some different matters, regarding things that have been going on for the last couple of years. The guy just hijacked it, just out of town. He just didn't want to deal with it. That does not say much about his leadership or his sense of courage or conviction, or his commitment to really, be that leader and watch out and take care of his people. I mean, I'm gone. I'm out of here. That does not bode well for that particular leader. I'm certain. Let's talk about this. And there's one other thing here that I want to bring up is this about getting the available facts before deciding anything. Be careful that as well. The best leaders don't have to get all the information. They get enough information so that they can make a decision. You can always change the decision, but don't allow yourself to get caught up in analysis paralysis. Getting ready to get ready so that one of these days you can actually get ready to get ready. That kind of a thing. So it is that whole thing again, leadership, action. That's really required here. Get what you need. Let's get the team going. Get a direction. Let's get an objective here. So next, connectability. This is a big one actually. Connectability, relationships, communication, connectability.
Yeah, this is probably one of my favorite ones that she talks about because it's building relationships with those people around you. True power, as she points out, is through the relationships that you develop, not only in your business world but in your personal life. What are your relationships like? What type of relationships do you have with the people you work with? Are they strained? Are they good? Have you developed an understanding, a true working environment? And here's the thing, go forth and develop these relationships because at the end of the day, those relationships are really, and your legacy, that's what you're going to take with you. Leaving that legacy behind is really about those relationships within the business world you've created, your organization, those people around you, and how you influence them.
One of those things that I think leaders, extremely good leaders, are really good at is the ability to create those connections, to learn how to meet new people, find out who they are, make that kind of emotional connection, not just an intellectual connection. I know this person, I know that person, but somehow there's something in that relationship that they're able to create that there's some sort of meaning or sense of attachment.
Yeah.
So because that's that ability of you as a leader then to be able to network, to reach out when you need some help or you need some assistance or something, or you're looking for somebody to fill a spot. That ability to spread that out and they in turn go and help you find the answers, the people that you may be looking for. So creativity in this connectability and relationship is no small thing. It is a huge thing. And lots of times leaders don't do that as well as they could do, but it's a big deal. It's no small matter. How about contribution to the welfare of others?
We talked about this the other day. Empathy, sympathy, and compassion.
Yeah.
Compassion. So what is it? Contributing to the welfare of others. And all those things take place. One of the things that we talked about, one of the biggest attributes of a successful leader is empathy. And making sure that the welfare of those around you, you understand what they're going through because you're going through with them, but you're going to be there to help them through it. Contributing to their welfare, contributing to their success in their career, contributing to, their own personal gain and the organization's personal gain. After all, being a leader, you got to understand that you hold several of the people in your organization. The people that work around you, you hold their career in your hands. And, you could potentially help them grow that career, or you can let it go.
Make it difficult.
Make it very difficult.
Yeah, that's very, very true. So as we take a look at these different kinds of traits that she's talking about, it's kind of easy to think of them individually. But again, this is an amalgamation of a human being called a leader. All these pieces work together. They influence each other. And there's a lot of dynamic that goes energy that goes into each one of these, and it leads to a place which I think is very appropriate. Number 7 here for us is creative perception. It's this ability to envision, to create perceptions that are essentially good for the organization, for the people there. That there are real outcomes that have great benefit, and also inspire others to get involved, to take part, and follow that particular leader. So that's no small thing. Again, this is something that you got to bring that game, and you got to learn how to earn that game so that you can bring that game. What are your thoughts about this idea of creative perception?
This is the trick, because as a leader, you have that vision. And we've talked about this before, that vision of where your organization needs to go. You're preoccupied with that future possibilities. And when you that and you effectively communicate the vision, communicate the possibilities that we can obtain together, communicate the possibilities of where this company can go, and really build excitement around that, because you're including people. The inclusion is there, the engagement is there. Guess what? That's when people start to get excited about your leadership. That's when people start to really believe in who you are and want to follow you to that next level. You have the vision, you see the future, and now you're bringing everybody with you. It's not about, I see the future of more letters behind my name, or a bigger office in the corner of the building, or whatever that might be. It's about everybody around you, that vision for the organization, which in good culture, we've talked about, includes everybody.
It does. Now, she's got some points here, different kinds of leaders. We look at the lens of leadership actually through 9 basic fundamental leadership styles, and each style has its own set of skills, you might say. Uh, she puts them in a little bit different way. I'm going to take them from the bottom up rather than going from the top down. The one that we like the least is the power position leader. I'm here, do what it is I say, because I got the parking space, I got the name on the door. I'm that person. Now that person can buy backs. They can buy people to come and just work for them. But that's all they're really doing, because you're saying to somebody, just do it because they told you to do it. All you're doing is buying backs. You're saying you're putting meat on the floor, you might say.
Right.
The least effective by far kind of leadership. What are your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. I agree. This is someone who is, they're in charge because they can be. They've gained their power through hierarchical order, if you will.
Maybe, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe they're just a kind of a good old boy kind of a situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could be maybe they started the company, but now the company's outgrown them.
Yeah.
Could be, or they were somebody's nephew, somebody's sister, somebody's brother, that kind of stuff.
You created that clique by bringing all your buddies over from the previous company you work for.
And you're
I've
stuck
seen
with
that
that clip.
that click sometimes, and that sometimes doesn't always work. Sometimes it does, but
Sometimes, not much. How about erudite power? Erudite, you're somebody who knows a lot in a particular area. Your particular area of expertise, and this I think also happens quite often. That you know something, it could be in IT, it could be in manufacturing, it could be in any number, maybe even sales. You're really good at
so, yeah.
sales, but you're good in that particular not little necessarily, but that particular area. It's very important. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be the person that's really ready for leadership. Leadership is a whole different set of skills. What about the person that has the knowledge?
Well, that knowledge is important. That knowledge is important to run the organization. Being a leader, you need to know or have the ability to, either have it or have the ability to gain it. That knowledge of the organization and what's around you. So that's, in a lot of ways, the people who are leaders have had that, or even have that knowledge that has gotten them to that point. The problem is even though, like you said, even though maybe the STEM skills are there, the engineering skills are there, the sales experience is there, but the leadership skills are not, the soft skills. And we've talked about this before. So soft skills that are the true skills that are really being looked at. 70% of all global CEOs, they're saying now what they really want is to hire people with the soft skills,
Yeah.
problem solving, leadership, the ability to create the vision. All these things, they're the soft skills that they're hardest to come by. There's no shortage of the STEM skills, no shortage of brilliant engineers. There's no shortage of brilliant people, and not to no, we're not belittling any of that, because we hold these people in incredibly high regard. But do you truly have the skills to be a leader?
And if you take a look at these first two, we're talking about positional power, erudite power. Which of these two types of leaders are going to be the easiest to coach?
My thought would be the erudite power.
Yeah.
They're absolutely.
Yeah, I think so
Because
too.
they understand the importance of knowledge.
Yeah.
The importance of knowledge.
And they've done something to really earn that knowledge, to earn those skills, and they understand that it took a lot of hard work to get there. And now if they want to open up their window and get in some more air about leading, becoming a leader, they know that it's going to take time, commitment, and work to do that kind of work.
Yes.
Let's take a look at this last one. The persuasive power is usually the ability to have emotional connections with others, and through that connection, manage, persuade people to take action, and so forth. And it's there is again this sense of charisma. What about that dynamic leader? I think that the dynamic leader often will have some, if not all, of these C's that we've been talking about here. What about that dynamic leader? How are they, if you were to talk to them about coaching, about getting executive coaching, how would they be as a student, as a candidate to really get in and dig in and learn a higher level of leadership?
These are the people who have the ability to draw people around them, because they're either charismatic, they have the ability to manage to and persuade others' actions through and not through power, but through persuading them to go in a certain direction, as a lot of good leaders do. I would think these people are very open to developing these leadership skills, because in a lot of ways they're already striving to do that to begin with.
Yeah, there's a lot to that. There's this one sentence in here we talked about that I think that she's got a really some insight about that. Knowing who you are is the most critical element in becoming an effective leader. And I added to that, and knowing who you are not. There's the distinction. Know who you are, but also know who you're not. That you're not all this, you're not all that. You've got your toolkit of what it is that you're really good at, your talents, your skills, and all that kind of stuff. And so then there's this issue here we talked about before, and that is, do you do it out of a sense of overconfidence, or do you do it with a sense of confidence and humility? And I think there's that dynamic in terms of somebody who's really ready to be coached, to somebody who's really ready to get in and dig in and do the extra work to gain those extra levers, you might say, on the leadership wheel. If somebody is good, if for instance, the power position, that person who's in that power position probably only has one style, if that, of leadership, maybe one. The person that has erudite power, maybe one, maybe two. And there's nine, remember, there's nine.
Right.
The persuasive power, they might have, two or three. And what we're really looking at here is, let's make those three that you have, or let's get to those three that are inherently inside of yourself. Let's really solidify them. Let's really make them solid so that you have great confidence and you know how to move around that leadership wheel. And those that are really serious about taking it up to the next level, I mean, you get those three solid in there, you can go after 4, 5, 6 different types of leadership styles. When you get to that level, I mean, you're the guy that's stepping up to the plate and you're batting like 320.
Yep.
That's that guy. That's the guy that can pitch the no-hitters. A lot of skill, a lot of experience, a lot of confidence. But that confidence backed up by knowledge and experience and humility.
It's just like you pointed out the other day in another one of our talks. There are no AA plus leaders. In reality, you might see a really good leaders, B plus. The point is, we're all still being coached. We're all still learning, regardless of what level you are at. That's the secret. Understanding where your shortfalls are, where your limitations are, and having that individual leadership development plan for yourself to continue forward and continue developing yourself. Nobody is past coaching yet. We're all needing coaches. We're all needing guidance, course corrections. We all need course corrections at time. And it's the distinction is the ones that welcome that, or the ones who say, no, I already know what you're talking about, and I'm gonna, because I've got the power. I don't need that. Or are you going to be the one who's vulnerable, humble, and really has a sense of yourself, your own self limitations, abilities, gaps? You're going to open yourself up to learning these skills, more skills. And that really is what sets, the A team apart from all the others.
It really is. We never get too old to learn something new. We never get too old to not listen to somebody else. We never get too old that we can't go and develop ourselves just a little bit more. We never, ever arrive. And those that think they do, those are the ones that go back to, well, do it because I said so.
And I can tell you this, when my wife calls me Richard and not Rich, I know I'm in for a coaching session.
All right.
Whether I want it or not.
Next time, videotape it. I'd love to see it.
That's right.
Let's do a shout out here before we wrap it up, because we're going to wrap it up here. And then you can tell the folks how to get hold of us. Got some people out there in London, England. And this first one here, I actually looked up how to pronounce it. It's Marylebone, City of Westminster in London. And then there's also Sheffield in London. So to those of you that are watching us out there in London, thank you. We appreciate your support. We appreciate you being part of our audience. And hopefully we're adding something to you, contributing to your leadership development. So Rich, how do they get a hold of us?
Well, the easiest way really is executiveleadersact.ilec.com. Go to our website. There are links there that have our email, our phone number, and get a hold of us. There's all sorts of things on our website that'll show you the way you can talk about previous leaders that have really done well through this program, and get a hold of us that way. Let's talk. Let's talk and sit down and see where we can go.
I guarantee you, if you sit down and you talk with us, whether it's we're doing it over Zoom or Skype or phone or whatever it may be, or Teams, whatever it may be, you will have a very interesting conversation just in the conversation. And understand something too, real quickly here. We do not sell coaching per se. If you're not ready for this, we're going to tell you you're not ready, because we have no interest in investing into something that's not going to go well for you. If it doesn't go well for you, it's not going to go well for us. We may tell you some things that you need to do to get yourself ready so that you can come and work at a high level with an executive coach to help you develop your leadership abilities, but just to have the courage to have a conversation, to open up that door to see what the possibilities are, what the potential is for you. That in itself can be a great act of courage, just to make that phone call, just to make that contact. And I would challenge you, if you're thinking about it, and here's the big deal. Here's the big deal, my friends. What holds people up from developing their potential as leaders is essentially what you see on the surface is procrastination.
Yes.
That's it. I'll do it later. I'll do it another time. I'll get to it. All these excuses. If you stand back and you look at how much procrastination you do, you probably actually do quite a bit of it. And when you realize that all that procrastination is being fed by your fears and your doubts, your worries and your anxieties, and you start noticing this whole load behind this dam of power that you are blocking, that you're holding up. And what if, let me ask you this question, what if you could take all that power, all that worry, all that nonsensical jazz that just hijacks us? What if you could take that and convert it into excitement, into enthusiasm, into possibilities that just absolutely thrill you every day to get up, go out there and do what it is that you do as a leader? What if you could turn all that into the positive, motivating, inspirational motivation, dynamic actions that inspire all the people around you. What if you could do that? How would you change? How would your life change? How would your teams and companies change? How would that all change just because you decided, I'm going to make the call? They're not going to sell me on it. We're going to just have a discussion. What if you just did that? All right.
Yep. Next 3, 6, 9 months are going to go by, whether you're doing this or not. It's where you want to be at the end of that makes a difference.
Absolutely. Well said.
Thank
All
you,
right.
everybody. Have a great weekend. Have a great night. Have a great day wherever you're listening from. We absolutely appreciate your support, and take care. Be safe, and we'll see you again next time.
And all the best to you. Good night.